Well, the reason it's called the male Mona Lisa is because it's painted at the same time of the male Mona Lisa. It technically has a lot of the same aspects that the Mona Lisa has. If you just look at his chest and you look at the way the light falls on his chest and you look at the way the light falls on the Mona Lisa's chest, it's very similar. Leonardo da Vinci developed this technique which he called the sfumato, which is this very soft outline of the figure, which is something that you see in this picture just as much as you see it in the Mona Lisa. The dress that he's wearing is typically a dress that in the 16th century you would have seen male figures wear. The blue that you see here is a very special pigment. It's a pigment called lapis lazuli. It's a very expensive pigment, and it's a pigment that Leonardo used on several occasions. It suggests that the picture was commissioned by a very, very important patron that could afford that sort of pigment, and it also survives times incredibly beautifully. As you can see, the blue is still beautifully intense and well rendered. This is a high Renaissance painting. You do see that sort of halos, as we call it, in earlier pictures. Leonardo here decides to bring to depict the figure of Jesus without the halo, but it is he's clearly representing the divine in this picture. The crystal orb is a representation of the world. The symbolic behind that is the world, and he is here blessing with his other hand humanity.
We have a work by Andy Warhol called 60 Last Supper, which is made after the Da Vinci Last Supper. So it's a very, very important by Warhol, and we thought it was very interesting to put them in dialogue because every contemporary artist, every post-war artist, pretty much every artist looked at Da Vinci as an influence because he's like the beginning of art history. So he's almost you cannot put him in a category or another one, and we thought that he's very contemporary. It's just he doesn't get old. It just doesn't get old. His images are reproduced all the time, all around the world, and we thought that having it in a contemporary sale was the best platform. And so Andy Warhol was very influenced. Jean-Michel Basquiat was influenced. Robert Rauschenberg, and you just go on. Pretty much every artist, studied him. When you start at art school, you start with the Renaissance and you start with Da Vinci. Again, I grew up looking at art. I was lucky enough to travel in Uffizi, in Florence, to Italy, and even in England and in Paris at the Louvre, and I saw all those paintings, and I grew up with them. I grew up thinking about them. So, and I think for a lot of people who think about art or who collect, if they either saw those works or they know about them, so it's just completely actual, and it's an incredible honor to have the chance of selling the only one left in private hands. It was a discussion that's been going on for a year, and it was a lot of convincing also, and it was in a big secret. It was very, very few people were new, even in the company that we were working on. The work by Da Vinci is by definition priceless. It's almost impossible to price. It is only worth what someone is going to be ready to pay for it. So we had to agree on a price to start, and then we agreed that $100 million was the right way to start. We have people calling us saying, this painting should be worth $3 to $4 billion. I think it's, $100 million is a big amount of money. It's more than we will make in a lifetime. but it's, in some extent, you could say, you know, other works have sold for 180 million, for 200, for 250. So in a way, you could say that this is, yes, it's pretty conservative, yeah.